Hello, this is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. I am your host of this motivational and inspirational podcast. And today I want to ask a question. Have you ever found yourself in a position throughout your journey or throughout your walk with Christ that you ask yourself, what is the purpose or what is the point? Especially when you find yourself in a situation where, let's just say, like maybe your bills are needing to be paid, or your children they're not acting the way that they should be acting, or your spouse is not doing what he or she is supposed to be doing, or your job, it's just like, oh, what is the point? I mean, you finding yourself where you're not really where you would like to be in your faith walk or in your life. And you tell yourself, hey, I've been praying every day, every evening. I've been reading my Bible. I've been spending time in the presence of the Lord. I've been listening to different ministers that are in agreement with what the Bible is saying. And I'm under teachers that are preaching sound doctrine. But why isn't my life changing? Why is it seeming that I'm stuck in the mud? Why would I not be moving forward? Why is it that I feel like I'm going nowhere? And when you get to this point, you ask yourself, well, maybe I'm praying too much, which you can never. The Bible said pray without ceasing. And then you say, well, maybe I'm in God's presence too much. And God wants us in His presence all the time, like the angels are. Or maybe I'm being too biblical. Maybe I'm not maybe, I'm just not where I need to be, or maybe I'm doing too much. You can never do too much for the Lord. You can never learn too much from the Lord. Whenever we get to this point in our lives, we know that monkey that is on our back is Satan. Satan is on our back. He is trying to convince us that you doing all of this, but you still not going anywhere, where everybody else on my side of the field, see, they getting blessed. But I don't know the end result of those individuals that are being blessed. In other words, they may have that fancy car that they just bought, but I don't know what the end result of their life is going to be, especially if they did not get it right. In other words, they got it for the wrong reason. They got it for show. They bought it because they wanted to look good or style and profile. They used the word of God to manipulate individuals into giving unto them where they can have this life. So I don't want to see their end. At least if I'm stuck in the mud, so to speak, I'm doing something that I need to be doing, and that's paying attention. I'm looking for God. I'm looking for answers from Him. I'm looking for Him to tell me what that next step is. And sometimes when we think we're not moving, we're actually moving, but we're just moving at a slower pace. We're not moving too fast, because if we move too fast, sometimes we can miss something. Or we may be meeting someone along the way that may need a word from us. That just because we're not moving like we feel like we should be moving, God may send someone our way that may give us a word of inspiration, or we may be giving them a word of inspiration. But nevertheless, God hasn't forgotten about it. I often ask myself, sometimes my days can be so rough and they can be so challenging and so frustrating that I'm asking myself, well, if I go to bed without praying tonight, will it really make a difference? That one prayer can make a big difference. I don't know how, I don't know in what way, but I believe that if I don't pray, that something could go wrong, that something could transpire, that if I had just prayed, this may not have happened. That's why I cannot allow the devil to have that victory over me. That if something happens where I get discouraged in my spirit, like something happened earlier in the week where I had my heart set on a particular thing, and I had prayed and I asked the Lord if I may have it, and it was gone. It's no longer available. And it dampened my spirits a little bit. And I said, well, maybe God has didn't see fit for me to have that. Sometimes we rationally out in our minds the reasons why God did something. But all in all, I took it as God saying no. And when I took it as God saying no, it's no rationality. It's just no. It's no way of fixing it in my brain to make it sound good, to make me feel better. The answer was no. So I said, I'm not going to stop praising you, God. I'm not going to stop lifting my hands up to you. I'm not going to stop meditating on you. I'm not going to stop listening to the Bible. I'm not going to stop praying. I'm going to keep going. And this is what Satan wants. This is what he wants us to do. He wants us to be discouraged. He laughed. Okay, you asked God for that. And look, it's not available. So no, you can't have it. Now what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to continue to praise the Lord. I'm going to continue to lift up my hands unto him. My treasures are not stored here on earth. My treasures are in heaven. And so that's going to be my prayer. That's going to be my voice. That's going to be my answer. I'm not going to stop praising God because God has been too good to me. I'm not going to give up because God has something better for me. I'm not going to be discouraged because God has something else in mind. He has something better, or he has something more efficient for me, or it's something else. But I'm not going to give up. So the old devil, what did he do? He had to go away. See, submitting yourself is submitting to the point of saying, okay, Lord, the answer was no. I will accept that, and I'm going to move on. Whatever your will, let your will be done. That's submission. That's being humble. That's bringing yourself to that point of humility. It's hard. It is. A few years ago, I would have been pouting. Well, God, why? Okay, what's the point of asking you if you're not going to give it to me? That was my attitude probably maybe about 6, 7, maybe 8 years ago. Well, why am I asking? Why am I asking if you're not going to give it to me? Because it became frustrating for me. I'm doing everything that you're asking me to do. I'm going the way that you want me to. I pray. I seek your face. I ask you. You told me you would give me the desires of my heart. This is a desire that I want, but you're not giving it to me. That was my attitude. And I had to dial down my attitude a little bit. And I had to be in a position of saying, whatever your will. That is a long way. And it takes a lot of time. And it takes a lot of patience and diligence. It took a lot of work. I had to transform. And see, transforming is not easy. If we watch the Transformers, which Transformers is one of my favorite movies. I love Optimus Prime and Bumblebee. Bumblebee, he always getting beat up. But he is that warrior for Optimus. And if I look at them, Optimus is 18-wheeler that transforms into a mighty machine. But that transformation is a process. You know, the wheels had to go somewhere. The headlights had to go somewhere. The windshield wipers had to go somewhere. You know, everything had to go in its proper place in order for it to look appropriate. I remember when my son used to watch the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, where the Power Rangers transformed from one thing to another thing. And they changed from that robot to a mega robot when they all came together. And I remember this. My oldest loved the Power Rangers. So when you think about transformation, everything has to be in its proper place. And being in its proper place, it will cause you to do things that you don't feel like doing, or you don't want to do, or you feel like you shouldn't have to do. But it's necessary in order for God to bless you in a way that He wants to bless you. If we fight God every single step of the way and say, well, God didn't give me this and God didn't give me that. I asked for this and I asked for that, and He still hasn't given it to me. You know what? I'm just going to do this on my own. Understand, when you do these things on your own, the results is not going to be what you feel like it should be. It's going to turn out to be something that you wish you hadn't done. I promise you. It will be a headache to you. It will be more a liability to you instead of asset to you. And the reasons why is because it wasn't what God wanted you to have in the first place. And this is my attitude. This is my disposition now. Maybe this was not what God wanted me to have. I said, okay, whatever your will, let your will be done. And that bringing myself down to that humility is hard. I had to humble myself because I have to look at things the way God sees things. And right now, my adjustment to my eyes haven't focused in completely on what God is wanting me to do. They haven't focused in or channeled in on it. God is still setting the lenses in my eyes to see what He wants me to see and to do what He wants me to do. And until I get to that point, I have to wait. I have to wait. I have to humble myself and just say, okay, Lord, whatever your will. And trust me, it is hard. It is hard. Because you ask yourself, what is your purpose? What is your purpose? Why? Why is this happening to me? We can't be stubborn in our faith walk. We cannot be stubborn in our faith walk. We cannot be so messed up in our faith walk that we don't allow God to do what He knows what's best for us to do. So that's why it is important for us to be humble, to bring ourselves to that point of humility where we say, well, Lord, whatever your will. And once His will is done, and once God sees that we are willing to trust Him 100, 110, 150, whatever percentage, He will provide for us what we need. It's not about what we want. It's not just about what we desire, but what God desires for us. God knows. God knows what's best for us, even when we don't know what's best for ourselves. This is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. You have yourself a wonderful and blessed day.